Hello, Star Wars fans. Hey, there's just 360 days until Christmas 2023. And if you're still celebrating the 2022 Christmas season, happy geese a-laying day to you. Today we're going to be talking about 2022 Star Wars, what content we've gotten, what happened in Star Wars within the community, the franchise this year. And I've got a couple of really good friends and then an interloper who's going to join us today. We've got of course, my dear friend Meg. Thanks for joining, Meg.
Hello, Santa. Thank you for having me.
Very anytime, all the time. And here's Martin Keeler. Hello, Martin.
Hello, Santa. Hello, Meg.
Good to see you. And I saw a video of you this year throwing a shoe at our next guest.
Yeah, and it's best day of my life.
It's desperately got me wanting to go to London just so I could throw a shoe at him too. Here we go, David Tree. There he is.
Hey.
How you doing, David?
I'm very well. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Thank you. So if you guys don't know, David Tree, he is the proprietor of all the cool stuff there in London, a toy collectibles store. And just
Santa,
a general
you're
good
outnumbered
guy.
Today. You got 3 Brits.
I am. Another good reason for me to go to London, I suppose. So we could all be at least in the same continent.
Can I just say, it's so good to see Dave proudly showing his brony. He loves it.
Yes, there you go. The money makers right behind him.
Yeah.
You gotta keep the lights on some way, and those ponies do keep the tills going, right?
And you can see Pip's bum there as well. So
there you go.
If I suddenly have random poo land on me, it's because I've got Pip and Merlin behind me as well. So
gotcha. Well, one of the things we want to talk about is the collectibles within Star Wars, and there's been some news on that front here in the last few days, few weeks. Some retailers have taken a really tough away. We've lost a couple of retailers here in the U.S. Who are, Star Wars collectibles. They sell the Hasbro Black Series Vintage Collection stuff primarily, and they've had to close shop. One of them is Dorkside Toys. Dorkside was a major supplier for folks, collectors here in the U.S. They did a really nice job of shipping things in nice condition so that you could get them without being completely beat up. But they've kind of closed shop, and as a result, we've seen some others go as well. One of them was a friend of the channel, Old Republic Collectibles. They're closed as well. So some folks have been stuck holding on to pre-orders and such because those retailers are no longer fulfilling orders. So, Dave, you could probably talk to it as much as anything. The Star Wars supply chain, what seems to be the problem?
Go on, Dave. Spill the beans.
So, first of all, with respect to anybody who's in a situation where they have pre-orders placed with any company that is undergoing any trouble, categorically, I'd like to think that we're all trying to do this as a living and trying to help people out as best as possible. So I would truly believe, the eternal optimist in me, that when these things happen, it is literally like the last resort. Everything is being done as best as possible to help people out, and it's always like the worst case scenario for that. So I feel for people who are put into the situations where they're like, well, where's my order? And I also feel for the companies that are having to like sort of say, this isn't working out. I will say that a lot of the problem really could be avoided by actually breaking this cycle, particularly with Hasbro, of everything being a pre-order. Yeah, so this year celebrates 13 years of the actual physical shop being open. And although the business has been running a bit longer than that, but like 13 years ago when I opened up the shop, when someone got their stuff, another retailer, within a week, everybody had got all their stuff. And you weren't necessarily getting a fraction of what you've asked for. You get your entire order. It's like, boom, they're delivered. Now there is a very difficult cycle going on of like this pre-order, and your expectation is set 6 months ahead. Yeah, so we like, and as I'm sure we'll get on to talk about, we've got all these Andor products that nobody's got because they won't come out, but the show's ended now. It's been and gone, and it should be on the shelves now. But you have like this expectation set, and people have like mentally banked it, and then either it comes out sooner and they don't have the funds for it, or it comes out later. But you also don't get the full order. It's like a dripping tap. You get a percentage of it, and really, you break that deadlock by like just not doing this whole thing. You like for as long as the internet's been around, there's been interest in Star Wars collectibles and new figures. So you'd have like magazines like Tome Arts and Action Figure Digest and things like that. You know all the things that are coming up, and you'd still have the San Diego previews and the New York Toy Fair previews and things. You're still being told what's coming. But you weren't necessarily told, and now you can order it like at 6 o'clock. Everybody like bum rush and get on there on Target.com or Hasbro Pulse, and like, oh, it's all sold out, and like everybody like gets bent out of shape and upset for something that you're not even going to get for another 6 months. And it's actually like the wrong thing to do, because it's conditioning people, and I know truthfully that from Martin's side of things, it's burnt him out. That it's like, I'm done with this. It's got to a point where you start to lose people more than recruiting them, because there's no real kind of like accessibility and love for these things. Now, that's not to say that the system would be perfect if it was without that. There's always been issues with distribution and things like that. Over here, you turn on the TV channel and you're told about that there's a cost of living problem. There's the war in Ukraine, which is horrific. There's Brexit. There's all like these factors that then like start coming in, and COVID that come in, and they don't necessarily are the overriding thing. But like when you're adding more and more potential obstacles, it does like brew into this impossible thing on top of a big thing with like the pre-order, that it is then difficult. And the only real winner out of this, truthfully, is Hasbro, because they created a direct-to-consumer channel with Hasbro Pulse. So they are not quite doubling their money, but they have their wholesale margin, and then they have the retail margin. And then, as we'll come on to discuss, certainly one of my big gripes of worst figure for 2022 is that they'll then price gouge on their exclusive when there is some funny business going on by Hasbro, truthfully, that is taking advantage of that market that it doesn't need to, because nobody else does. And Lego is still the biggest incumbent Star Wars brand, and yet last year the Bad Batch came out. They had the Bad Batch shuttle, and you could get all the Bad Batch guys. It was there at release. Fantastic. Kenobi comes out. Lego have a Kenobi set ready at retail when Kenobi hits. Andor, they've got and it's not like a wide range, but they've always making sure that deadline is hit, that they've got something on shelf for when it's actually out. You've now got new players like Jazzwares that do the amazing micro Galaxy collection ships and things like that. Absolutely fantastic. It's brilliant. but there's no, and they're putting in like cool things like chase ones, like paint variations and stuff like that. So it gets you to go out and start like, it's giving you a reason to go into the toy aisles to like try and hunt the variations and things like that. The treasure hunts and stuff like that. That's when you're kind of doing it right. And Hasbro for too long have let go of the mass market retail, and it's been good for collectors, don't get me wrong, but like now there's this over reliance, and now they are not necessarily pulling their weight when you look at other licenses. If they were the only ones, you could then say, okay, there's problems, but like if other toy companies are able to toe the line and deliver, there's no reason why Hasbro can't either.
Well, let's touch on
problem.
one of Meg's favorite lines as well, since you kind of the Funko, right? Funko is still
but Funko can do it. Funko, I hate Funko. Do you Funko, Meg?
Sorry, what was your question?
Funko.
Do you collect Funko?
I do too much. I need to stop.
See there you go. But like there are Funko are able to do it, and they're able to like keep up with these things. But like Hasbro always seen as the number one player for Star Wars, and probably isn't really, especially when you look at the output of Funko.
Well, Lego and Funko, combined.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Dave, Funko. That's where it's at, Dave.
Don't you sell Funko there, Dave? Is that your problem? You don't have them on the peg?
I have very, very minimal. I personally
love them. Keeps them himself.
Yeah,
can't bear to sell them because then he's parted from them.
I get like people enjoy them and stuff like that, but there's so many you just can't keep up. And so,
when you talk about Hasbro, and one of the things we were talking about just before the show came on is the sheer volume of figures that they've released this last year.
Yeah.
Martin, you gave me a number.
Yeah, 121 apparently.
And is that 121 Black Series figures? Is that Star Wars figures or just across Marvel and everything?
No, Star Wars.
Oh yeah. When you look at Marvel, like that's
121's a quiet year for Marvel, isn't it?
So 121 Black Series figures, and I saw like just within the vintage collection, there's 8 to 10, something like that, Dinjarans that have been released. Variations of.
Dale's made a good point.
Fandom.
Still no blurg.
The thing with Funkos is you know what you get every time, and it's not too small and fiddly, so no bits end up where they shouldn't end up. It's just a Funko. It looks cute. It's got big eyes. It's not meant to be realistic. You sit it on your desk. You bong its head every now and then. It's perfect.
Meg, do you keep them boxed or you take them out?
They're in their boxes. I don't take any of them out. The only one I've ever taken out is the Bo-Katan without the helmet, because that one was really cool.
Nice.
I've got a couple. My daughter got me.
I've got 2 Funkos. I got one for Christmas, no less. Including, can I just say, I also got this lovely cardigan for Christmas.
I was going to say,
Martin stood up and said he was going to show us his toys. I got very worried.
Let me just put the batteries in. So I got a Life Day Chewy.
Oh, that's brilliant. I love it.
Yeah. He's flocked as well, Dave. He's flocked. Look, you can stroke his little bobbly head. And then the only other Funko that I can recall buying was my husband, Paul Rudd. Funko thing.
Look who made it into the chat. Our friend Tim.
Hey, hi Tim.
From Boss Bounty. Hey there, Tim. He says, just watching the car, not driving. I never like to compare figures to Funko and Lego. Both Funko and Lego probably have 95% reuse repaint.
Yeah.
Dave, I've got a Lego figure that I'm sure you haven't got because it's custom. I got this for Christmas.
Oh, look at that! Another Zuveum, right? I gotta
Oh,
test
look
this.
at that. That's
that.
amazing.
Greg got me that.
That's
Bless him.
You know.
Hey, there you go.
Oh my gosh.
I think
Love 'em.
I think Santa would be a good idea for you to start a new segment of Funko with Dave.
Funko
Yeah,
with Dave,
yeah, that.
a weekly show. We
don't
could do it
think
on
we
the
can
Star Wars.
convert Dave to the Funko side.
I've been
Yeah.
looking to do a YouTube Shorts. You know, it'd be about a 10-second segment. They say, I hate them. There you go. That was our weekly segment of Funko Shorts with Dave Tree.
Get into reaction videos from Dave. Meg showing her latest Funko. And Dave's review.
I'd be totally up for that. Like, sign me up. 2023. Let's go. Let's make it happen.
You'd only have to record about 3 versions and we could just rotate them. Right?
Yeah.
I hate it. I really hate it. No, it's rubbish. That would be about it. And just rotate the response every time a new Funko's released.
That'd be amazing. I'd love that.
Okay, so we kind of touched base as well on the prices, right? And this is my vintage collection example. So this is a nice set. It's got Din and the Dark Trooper there, and he comes with the Beskar spear, which I had to have. I got as a 3D print custom. But there it is, right up in there. You can see it right behind his back. Let's see if I can get it in there. There you go. And then on the other side, you've got, Gideon and Grogu. Now, in essence, this is 3 figures, right? So you've got the Dark Trooper, which is just now being released for Vintage Collection, and they're like $30 a pop, something like that, $20-something, $27 something each, and they're shipping this week. And then you've got another Din Djarin with the Beskar spear, and you could have thrown Grogu in there because they do that every time they release Din Djarin. And then you got Moff Gideon, and then here he's got the soft goods cape. So that's a good thing. You got 3 of them here. This is $75. It's a great big box. I mean, nice background and all. That's a lot of cardboard and plastic. For $75 for 3 figures, essentially.
Plastic free.
No, not this time. But $75. That works out $25 a figure. And a lot of cardboard and plastic. So for vintage collection, that's a little on the high side. When the price point used to be about $15, 13 to 15. Now it's regularly 20, 25. For vintage collection. Martin, you want to talk about your Black Series figures?
Well, I think I can beat that, and this will please Dave because it was a Hasbro Pulse exclusive in the UK, and was indeed the figure that broke the back of me collecting. Was the Credit Collection Dark Trooper. So the overused Credit Collection came out with a new wave of Mandalorian figures, which included the Dark Trooper in a rubbish blue, different paint variation. Only available on Hasbro Pulse. £55 per figure, which is probably not far off your $75. And that was the moment I said, goodbye. I am no longer a completist. And apparently it was a pricing error when they didn't sell them. They made quite a few pricing errors. I've not seen them do any where they've underpriced it, though.
Oh.
No,
It's just quite strange.
yeah, the same with Slave 1, where that was 250 quid or something like that.
Yeah.
And then that turned out to be a pricing error as well. And then you had the 4-pack Stormtroopers that started off at, I think, about £44, and then they sold out, and then they made the Rebel Troopers available and some of the others. But then when the Stormtroopers came back in, they were like 55 quid. They'd gone up a tenner, but the others were still at the previous price point. So it's like you're sort of scalping your own exclusive.
It almost feels like eBay. Let's see what price it sells at, and then that's the price.
So,
Yeah.
so I want to get on to other topics, but if we were to say
No,
best
Santa.
of,
We're going to talk for 5 hours at least.
just on
Just on
collectibles.
distribution in the UK.
Well, you wait until I
That's
show
cool.
you. I don't know if Meg has seen this yet or not, but
Oh,
there's
a quote.
a thing that dropped just today that's getting ready to come out next year that I think Meg will be quite excited about. But
There's another quote. Yeah.
Best of 2022 for vintage collection, Black Series collection, throw in Funko or whatever else you'd like. What would you say is your best or worst in the Black Series there, Martin?
So I did, because you forewarned me you're going to do this. I thought the best things that happened in the Black Series this year were the repackaged or slightly different figures packaged in the original Clone Wars boxes, which they only did 3 of, I think, 3 or 4, which was a nice little sideline. I really enjoyed those. I thought that was like proper repacking rather than...
Martin, is that the one where they had like Luminara and Julie, Barasofi, Ayla's Kura, like all of those ones?
That was the vintage collection version of it. This was the Black Series where they had, I think it was Mace Windu and
Grievous.
Grievous
Grievous,
and an
yes.
ARC Trooper. Yeah. But that was a genuine, you're getting a slightly different product and it's repackaged for nostalgia. And there was only 3 of them. So it was a kind of nice little sideline.
But in answer to what Meg was like saying, they were done in the same style as I can never pronounce it, the Gendy
Bendy, where
Ofskovsky 2005 Wars series, in the same way that Luminara and that was as well.
yeah. So I thought that was good. Also, a Galaxy's Edge exclusive, which was very handy for collectors, was they did a creature pack, which meant you got the Quakian monkey lizards and Babu Frick, all the little sort of knickknacks that normally come with a figure. They did that as a pack. That was quite a good one to get hold of. I think it was only $40 as well for 5 small figures. And then as an actual figure itself, strange enough, I think the best one they released was Ned from Obi-Wan.
Oh, really?
I thought-
Yeah, the droid.
Yeah, Dave doesn't agree, but he doesn't like Funkos. I just thought Ned was a good, solid figure. And it's the kind of figure I'd kind of like, where it's not like a main player, but it's enough on the screen for it to not be... Yeah, obviously, Zuveum doesn't fall into that category, but do you know what I mean? It's kind of like a good secondary figure, and the figure itself is really good. It's good,
That's good.
bulky,
That's great.
stands up, all good stuff.
David, do you have a favorite, least favorite for 2022?
Is that on Black Series and Vintage, or?
Yeah.
So, very easily sum up for Black Series. Worst being the aforementioned credit collection, and I would also lump in any of the credit collection and any carbonized figures, because there are a lot easier and better ways to sell repaints rather than the gimmicks of the carbonized and the credit collection and charge more for them. Yeah, you can get people to buy clones all day long if it was battle damaged, if it's got a stripe on its helmet and stuff like that. But to do like credit carbonized versions of it and charge more for it, it's a ridiculous thing. I mean, I'm all for the candy cane Christmas ones. Not my thing, but the Martin's thing. But that I think works. Yeah, but like any credit collection and any carbonized is the worst. But my best on Black Series is actually something that wasn't part of any of this year's media releases, so to speak. My personal favorite is Saw Gerrera from Rogue One. And that's something that has been long overdue as a Black Series figure. But equally in that, having Jyn Erso redone with the
Photo
base
real paint.
because that was just such an appalling figure first time round. And although it's really kind of like the same figure updated, the fact that you managed to sort the head out that you wouldn't expect them really to do it because it's been and gone. There's nothing to tie it in. So the fact that they did do it is all credit to Hasbro on that front for doing it, and it is a brilliant figure, and it's just because of the head. But like Saw Gerrera on the vintage collection side of things, again as a lump together, and again it's not very popular to say this, and you could argue it's not really like vintage collection, but like any of the retro series stuff I think is not the best it could be executed. Don't just do it 6 figures. If you're going to do it, just do it as a line, and just keep doing them rather than, because 6 figures for Obi-Wan is not enough to cover all the Obi-Wan characters. 6 figures for Book of Boba Fett isn't enough to cover all the figures for Book of Boba Fett. So like literally, or Mandalorian I should say, because that was the release earlier this year. So like literally just go with it. My favorites are actually in third place, Bespin security guards. Both of those guys. I have a love for those space Pinkertons. So I think that they're cool. Number 2 would be, see, this is show prep. Fennec Shand with the little helmet. Now I would have had the Black Series figure in here, but like once this version came out, it's like it kind of almost knocked the socks off the Black Series figure because it held all the detail, but like scaled much further down, and that was, you know, impressive in itself. But number 1 is a bit of a cheat again because it's really the same figure, but it's my Migs Mayfeld and Din Djarin. But if I had to, I mean, just absolutely beautifully articulated figures. But if I got to go, see, I'm like, it's the Migs. Your little Bill Burr there. That is absolutely fantastic. But like they work together, both as like a troop builder, brilliantly articulated. The fact that you can holster the blaster, you know, they just look good. They're just fantastic, and they're not necessarily what you go like, oh wow, that's what I've always needed. But like it's an attention to detail for something that's a secondary character, or because it's not the Mandalorian and it's not Migs Mayfeld. They're in disguise, but they're just done really, really well. That to me is when Hasbro are at their best, because they're thinking about ways to get you to part with your money and get you to buy into it, rather than kind of like a lazy, you know, someone had to develop that, and they've developed it because you're getting a 2 for 1 because you're just changing the head around. But they've done it in such a way that it makes sense because you want the pair because they were a pair.
That's kind of brilliant on their part.
Can you hold them back up to the screen again?
Oh no!
There you, can you make them kiss now?
No, stop, Martin.
Mr. Hamilton, like.
So hey, look, I agree with you on the Fennec Shand character for what you said. Like, it's absolutely perfectly done, vintage scale figure that shows you can put all of the detail in a vintage scale that you get in a Black Series figure, but they're far more collectible, in my opinion, than the Black Series figures. Because if you're going to try to build a set, like I've just been collecting Mandalorian figures, right? So the Mandalorian figures, I've already filled a shelf. I'm going to have to go to another shelf as they keep creating those. And the Fennec Shand to me is perfect. It's perfect. And I feel no need to like get the Black Series one everything I want is in the vintage collection one. Meg, real quick, did anything this year added to your collection that you're really happy to have?
I received the other day a Val Sarther Funko Pop, and now I'm hoping they make one for Cinta, so I can put them together
Yeah.
on my desk.
In what outfit was she in?
She's in the Heist on Aldani outfit, so she's sporting a gun, and she's got brown shoes, and the black and grey outfit. But I really enjoyed that one. Same with Chrysanthemum, and they're making more Book of Boba ones in the next 2 months, which is quite cool.
It's great. I want to show you guys. I saw this just kind of hit Twitter today. We've got a new Hot Toys Mace Windu released, and this one here actually has me excited because it's got additional feature that I've not seen in the Hot Toys before.
Oh, give a list of the tweets he's liked.
Well, the lightsaber, is LED lit using a USB power.
Oh, nice.
That is on some of them already. I've got a loop.
Oh, is it?
There.
I've not seen that before. So I'm just like, wow, that is really impressive, and the figure looks great. And here they've got an additional outfit accessory, if you will, that they have. Let me get to it here. All the normal stuff, just the lit lightsaber itself. There's the forearm armor from the Clone Wars animated series, right? So you can get that as part of the accessories too. So just a wonderful figure. And again, Hot Toys doing it right. Really, really doing it right.
So when you look at that photograph that you put up, has anybody seen Spirited? Is it Spirited with Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell?
Not
It
yet.
looks like a film poster for that. You know, where they're kind of
Look, I'm impressed. I thought they did a great job with this, but Hot Toys always does. I don't know anything they've done that's been like not great. But here you can see some of the things: the LED lightsaber powered by USB, the forearm from the Clone Wars animated series. Of course, you get the regular lightsaber variations. You got the hologram of Yoda there. I think it's great. I think it's a great figure, and that'll be coming 2023. So this was just kind of announced today, and it's starting to get out there. So yeah, and I saw on my Discord somebody's like, I do not need this, and they're like, yeah, you do. You know you do. When you posted it, it said you didn't. You're saying you did. And I know what a fan Meg is of Mace Windu. And that's just a brilliant figure.
Again, I suggest Samuel Jackson's a big fan of Hot Toys as well.
Yeah, very different kind of hot toy.
Yeah.
Yes.
What's this?
I'm familiar. So other than collectibles.
Look how Santa tries to move on. But Dave doesn't know. We ought to explain to him.
Basically, Samuel L. Jackson liked some explicit, not safe for work content, and fans were screenshotting it while it was still available. And then he clearly unliked them or pulled it down or whatever, but it was very funny.
So he was on the Zuveum. I like it.
Cheeks.
So there was before we get to some of the other content, there was a couple things that happened this year. One is, and I know, Martin, you had the privilege of getting to go. The Halcyon Star Cruiser opened in 2022. Now that's been received with mixed opinions within the Star Wars fandom. There's been the reception there has been quite mixed, but the folks who have gone, the folks who have actually got to go and be immersed in that experience, every report I've seen has been positive. And you, my friend, got the privilege of getting to go, and
Yep.
I know you had a wonderful experience. You want to tell us about that again, just briefly?
Yeah, so I paid the $6,000. It was our last big family holiday. So the kids have gone to university now. So we ended our trip in Florida with with the Halcyon. It is $6,000 at least, which means it's outrageous pricing, really, for a 2-night, 3-day adventure. Every penny is there for you when you're there. So everyone I know who's been on it don't feel like you're ripped off. It's just completely immersive Star Wars. You genuinely feel like you've gone into space for 2 nights. I saw something really quite amusing the other day that apparently Disney are now having to make it clear when you book that you don't actually go into space, which I find quite amusing. As real as it is, I don't think for 1 second I thought I'd actually taken off and gone into space. But having said that, it is just truly amazing. And the most difficult thing is you can't market the thing because it's what happens when you're there. No video will ever do it justice. No sort of review will do it justice. It's you are part of Star Wars, and the story takes place between The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker. And I think it's the only time Kylo and Rey meet between the films, and you play a part in that story, and it's different each time. Brian's hit it on the head. It's incredible, and the more you put into it, the more you get out. But someone's just said, "I won't pay $6,000." That's the issue. If I had the money to do it again, would I do it again? No, I'd do something else because $6,000 is a lot of money, and I could do a lot with $6,000. But it is absolutely worth every penny once you've paid it. But paying it is not pleasant.
Yeah, I've seen that. There's another person in my Discord who just went like within the last month or so, and she also said that for their family it was unbelievable. Yeah. She has no regrets at all for spending the money, but that does seem to be an issue. And there's been reports lately that it's only like half booked.
Yeah, I have some friends who have gone on it fairly recently, and they said it was noticeably emptier this year. But then it is slightly in down season as well. I'm not sure the price will come down though.
Well, that's what my next question was. So, supply and demand is a fascinating thing, and if Dave would only sell those Funkos, he would learn that the demand is worth him providing a supply. But to each your own. You don't want to make money, that's fine. Don't sell them. That's okay. But
really, I don't.
Sorry, Dale's just said something that's really interesting. So people say Halcyon is so immersive, they think they can't go out to the car because they've forgotten his saying. I have the same problem. Right. I have a friend who lives very close to Disneyland, and he's done it twice. And the second time, he went home to his own bed each night. And said he had a better time because he knew more about what was going on and stuff, and just didn't feel the need to spend the night in the hotel room with a guy who snores.
Now they don't have the option to do the Sands room booking, do they?
No, you have to book it, and the guy he was with kind of went in there anyway, so he had the room to himself. But there's this whole thing about you can't leave. He left every night. Yeah. Slept in his own bed, got up early next morning, went back in.
So with demand apparently being down, if it trends this way, might they lower the price? And that's really been the.
I think they're more likely to change the storyline, because the clever thing they've done with the Halcyon is the Halcyon exists pretty much through all 3 trilogies. I think they're much more likely to change the storyline, get repeat offenders go.
That's what I was just about to ask. If you knew that there was like a season 2 of this, would you go back again, Martin?
So here's the difficult thing. I really, really want to go back. Like, it's almost painful how much I want to go back. I just can't justify $6,000 in doing something I've done before. Now, if they changed it up, that would put another level of pain.
Right.
Because I'd want to go. And actually, Dave, so Emma asked me, so I'm 50 next year, right, Dave? So we're going to have a big reveal here. Well, not big reveal.
You're not.
I'm 50 next year, and Emma said to me, if you could do anything, what would it be? I said, go on the Halcyon with you and Mark. Because I want you... Because you want your Star Wars, Santa and Meg, everyone. I want everyone to go. It's just so amazing. But it's 6K.
Right. Well, there's... I know, like, in Disneyland, you can see these two guys walking around, right?
Yeah.
So they're adding other figures, other characters to Disneyland within Galaxy's Edge, not in Disney World because of the Halcyon and people coming out. The fully immersive experience. You don't want to walk out of there and see out of timeline characters that don't fit the story.
I don't want to give too much away, but this is how immersive the thing is. The rides at Galaxy's Edge, the Smuggler's Run and Rise of the Resistance, are part of the Halcyon plot. So they like what happens on those rides affects your story on the Halcyon. It's like that's how in depth it is. So
changing the theme is even more complex than just saying, okay, we're going to now have this happen while Han and Leia are on their honeymoon. We'll talk about that too, right? With The Princess and the Scoundrel from the publishing side was released this year to mixed reviews. I had the opportunity to listen to it, and not my favorite. I put it on the low side of publishing for the year, but there you go. They were on the Halcyon, and people see it. It was more money grab. Disney taking, trying to get people to go on the Halcyon, but the Halcyon isn't set within that time frame. And so it's not like you're going to, instead of seeing Rey and Kylo on there, you'd see Leia come out and have an encounter with somebody. Nor would you go into Galaxy's Edge and have an experience set within Han and Leia's that Princess and the Scoundrel story arc. So that's I don't see how they can rebrand it that simply, being that it's that immersive, unless they say, okay, we know that the Halcyon folks are going to be out and about during this time. And so during this time, you're going to get sequel era, folks. And then when the Halcyon folks are busy, they're not out and about, we'll maybe bring in, Boba Fett.
Santa, you may as well rename this stream Reminder of how terrible 2022 was for Star Wars.
I was going to say, we're all very down, aren't we?
I do want to change.
You're bringing up things that I completely forgot about, and I'm like, oh gosh, this was a terrible year, wasn't it?
Well, that's fantastic, because there is more topics to talk about that will likewise kind of poke at fans. Matt, this stream is quite glum. So I don't know that I can make it any better, Matt.
I'm talking about my favorite thing of the
right. It was this is, I think, really classic.
Hey, I know.
What's that?
Make them kiss.
I think it's classic within the fandom. Like, folks who absolutely love the Halcyon, they had a great time. They're saving up their pennies and nickels and dimes for the opportunity to somehow get to go. And there are people who are just feeling the same pain that you are, Martin, to get a second time, to go the first time, who are dying to go. But that price point is just so high that they can't. And so it's going to be a once-in-a-lifetime kind of experience, or something like that. So it's just, that's the pain point for a lot of us. But for other folks, they're like, you got to be out of your flipping mind. There's no way I'm going to go to that. If it was free, I wouldn't go. It's terrible. It's horrible. It's all the things wrong with Star Wars and Disney.
So I got a question. How, and this is to everybody, how would you feel then, given that you have Florida, you have Anaheim, and you have Paris, and further
Okay.
afield.
Yeah.
But what if you had a different Halcyon at each one?
Oh.
Would that make you want to do, say, like the prequel era in Paris? Yeah, and it's all the senators, and it's like taken over by the Trade Federation, and you got whatever going on, and then maybe in Florida. Is it in Florida or is it in Anaheim?
Yeah, Florida is the sequel era, and so
Yeah.
Anaheim you could do.
So yeah, and then there you got like the original trilogy, and then
I
you
love
got,
that
like,
idea.
So Meg,
So
which one are
I
you?
think you should have the prequels in Paris because that's the best trilogy, and it's right
Yeah.
on our doorstep.
Yeah.
And then you can put everything else far away. Put it in Japan for all I care.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, Meg. So,
Well, or you have a Mandalorian in Japan or something like that. So each one has its own unique one. I think
Yeah.
Paris worked the prequel era because it's all politics and stuff like that.
Well, Meg's dual
Where-
citizenship in France that really works for her. I know.
So, Meg, surely the dream is Paris has the prequel era. And have you seen Wani from the Halcyon, the Rhodian?
No.
Oh, I have.
She's
seen-
amazing. She speaks nothing but Huttese and is fully animated, but it's like person walking around. Imagine if they did a Gungan.
oh god, yeah.
That could
That'd be
be
amazing.
terrifying.
I nearly swore then as well.
It'd be brilliant.
Could be.
It's really funny, Martin. You said this Rhodian just walks around, can't listen to you, talks a different language.
No,
Sounds
she does
like my
listen
ex.
to you. No, the weird thing is she does listen to you. You just can't understand what she's saying back. And someone told me about the translations. She genuinely asks you questions about you based on what they know. It's really
That
quite
sounds really
freaky.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen video of her, and she is quite remarkable.
Yeah.
Like very believable.
And she's not like it just appears and you see her and she goes. She's like there for the 3
But
days.
there was another comment you made before the stream came on, when it was just you and I visiting, about how realistic the Halcyon set is, right?
Yeah. So the comment I said, sorry, my headphones just come unplugged for a second. The comment I said was, I've been lucky enough to go on set of Star Wars, and the Halcyon is more Star Wars than the set I went on. Because it's fully immersive. It's fully around you.
It's got to withstand the general public for a start.
Yeah.
right.
Basically,
Well,
Not going to
But
touch.
when you go on a set, you're seeing all kinds of
Yeah.
the backside, like construction and
Absolutely.
unfinished
But
wood and
I
all
can't-
of that.
you can't stress enough if you're a Star Wars fan. If you're a Star Wars fan, imagine you wake up on like the first morning after you spent the night there, and you open the window and you're just looking out on Batuu, and there's spaceships flying around. Like, it's just incredible. And then when you go to Batuu, because of the way the plot happens, there's a blockade. So when you go back to your room, all of a sudden it's TIE fighters surrounding the whole of the ship, and they're just flying past your window.
They should have made it prequels. You run into Ki-Adi-Mundi down the hall. You have a
Yeah.
conversation with Jar Jar and Captain. I nearly said Captain
Tanaka.
Tassels, Captain Tarples.
Captain Tassels would be amazing. I'd go for that dinner show.
Me too. I think it's a good era. I think it's
Yeah.
a really good era.
No,
Yeah.
I like that idea, David. That was a good one.
And Hondo's got to be at every single one, like trying to take over, or like,
It could be.
Hondo's consistent in it. Yeah.
He could be.
yeah, that would be brilliant.
Before we move on to other content, Celebration also happened this year. Just as a 2022 review. We're
Dominic's
talking
really
about-
going for it in the chat here.
With all the trailers that no one got to see.
Right.
Yeah.
So there was on StarWars.com, they talk about the best of 2022, and they listed Celebration and also the online experience that you could have for Celebration. Except the online experience for Celebration was, I think, a letdown for the most of us who tried to catch the content there, because still some of the content that they showed at Celebration hasn't been released to the public. And I get there's lots of reasons for that. There's lots of reasons it hasn't been released because of placeholder music and this, that, the other thing. But I'd say that was an underwhelming So if you're going to take Celebration and put best of and worst of, I would put the online part in the less than category.
It wasn't that bad. I think we had a lot of leaks come through, and just the excitement of Skeleton Crew being announced and Ahsoka, I'd say, was one of the highlights.
Yeah.
Well, I would love to go, and I know the folks that did go had just a wonderful time, made new friends, had a blast while they were there. I would go to London next year in a heartbeat, except it's on Easter weekend. And for me, that is a religious holiday that's important to my family, and being away from my family during that holiday would be difficult. To choose Star Wars over family, that's not a good look. So I'm not going to do that. But
You've got to get used to Santa.
Yeah, Matt Risman put it the way I agree. If they were smart, they'd sell a premium online streaming option that gives it access to more of that, right? That you could pay for that premium experience so that you're not blocked from seeing the trailers or that kind of stuff, right? It's going to, the argument against that is, well, then people would record it and leak it out. Well, guess what, my friends? I'm going to do that anyway.
Yeah.
So make money off of it.
I'm excited for Celebration. Are any of you guys going?
Yeah.
Martin.
Okay.
Martin can't exactly say, but if
I
you know
Martin.
So
I can say it publicly now. So Celebration for me was I was a stage manager on the main stage in Anaheim. So ironically, I didn't get to see the trailers and stuff because I was backstage, but I think it's fair to say I'm happy with where I was. I was very lucky. And yeah, fingers crossed I might be back in April.
Well, I think it's a good time to advertise that there is an event going on Sunday evening.
Yes.
That is quite important for our friends, right?
That's the bit I've been working on. Thanks, Santa, for putting it in there. So yes, we are putting on a gig for Star Wars fans at the O2 Arena. Here comes the plug. But the amazing Ash, who are a fantastic band. Dave and I saw them just before Christmas in a mad night out.
Awesome.
They're headlining. For those of you that know them, you'll know they're hugely Star Wars connected. For those of you who don't, they did songs for Republic Commando. They played the Rat Party for the Phantom Menace, and they've just got hit after hit after hit. They've had like Glastonbury and stuff like that. They're just awesome. And also Darth Elvis, who's everyone's familiar with this, hopefully with this page. He's performing. It's his last ever live performance.
What? No way.
Yeah, that's it. It's his big send off. It's his last ever live performance. He'll still be doing online stuff, but he's retiring from live performance. Blues Harvest are playing for the people who've been to Chicago to the bashes and stuff. They knocked out the park. They are awesome. And we've got Level Up Leroy DJing, who's a pretty big name over here for conventions in the UK. And then the big DJ, we've got DJ Elliott playing, who is of course is the stage host for the main stage. And we've got a few surprises lined up as well. So tickets are available on the O2 Arena website, or the o2.co.uk. If you look at the Indigo at the O2, which is where we're playing, you can get your tickets there now.
Fantastic.
It's so funny for Americans. It's so far away, but you could just jump on the Jubilee line.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's an awesome cable car.
Literally takes you straight to it. Yeah.
Yeah. That goes over as well.
Yeah.
So,
The Emirates airline.
Cable car ride.
It's great. So we got a lot more to talk about. There's a lot more to talk about. And gaming. Let's do gaming next. There's Star Wars Lego. The Lego Star Wars Saga was released this year, and by all reports and gameplay that Star Wars Meg posted, it looks to be a wonderful game. Loads of fun, and you can go and what's the word Meg likes to say? You could twat anybody with your lightsaber.
Exactly.
You're welcome.
I was the ice cream police. Anytime someone was eating an ice cream cone, I'd zap them with my lightsaber.
Excellent.
You've got an ice cream. I won't have it. Whack. It looked to be tons of fun, and the gameplay, the story. I know there were some complaints that some parts of the story were cut too short for folks liking, but I think overall the pros outweigh the negatives there. Would you say?
I love the game. I still play it.
It's great.
It's a lot of fun. I have nothing else to add.
Fact.
And you also mentioned I think the mobile game Hunters was out this week or this year. I haven't heard much on that front. I don't know anything about it. I don't know if anybody here does, but for that perspective, 22 did provide us at least one brilliant game, and 2023 is giving us the next saga or the next chapter of Fallen Order, right?
Yeah.
The
Jedi Survivor.
Jedi Survivor. So folks are very excited for that as well. So that seems to be, when you talk about all the negatives before, Meg, I think from the gaming front, folks should be relatively happy. Yeah. Amazon is delivering the Monster Energy. So I've been drinking Dorito, right? But Amazon's delivering Monster Energy as we speak. Yeah. All right. Anything else on the gaming front before we move on to publishing?
Just very quick, you've also had the limited run releases as well, where Limited Run is a company where they get the licenses and they redo them. Classic games, and this year they've had a LucasArts run, and I can't remember which ones I got this year, but I know
Republic Commando, Dave.
It's not just Star Wars games. They do like Secret of Monkey Island, Grim Fandango, Sam and Max Hit the Road, that sort of thing as well. And there's been a whole bunch of those. Again, problem is with those, I genuinely can't remember what I've had, because you prepay for it millions of years in advance, and then 10 years later something like comes through the mail. But they've got a sale that I think goes live tomorrow. So if you haven't picked up any of those games, it's like their big clear out of the year. Limitedrun.com gives you a chance to pick up some of those releases. And they've also got like a Fallen Order special bundle deal as well, where you get like a lightsaber. There you go. There's Republic Commando. That was one of the releases this year. They've been pretty good. If you're into the retro side of things, if you're a sucker and like to play over the odds like I do, sign up for it.
I just saw something come across that I'll share now, and then we can keep going. So on Twitter, they've just shared Star Wars 4K UHD steelbooks are up for pre-order at Best Buy, $36 each. So there you go. You can get your steelbook
What a rip-off.
original trilogy. Yeah. You know, I'd buy it in a heartbeat if it included the original theatrical release cuts. That's all I want. I'll pay anything. Like, just release them original theatrical release
You need
cuts.
to put it on your Christmas list.
Oh, yeah. Oh, with the blurgs of things that are never going to happen. Yeah, I know. I know. But hey, it's only for shills. Hey, original trilogy shills. There's plenty of us out there. Like, I don't know how many copies of the
Santi,
original
you
trilogy.
can't call yourself that if you love the sequels.
Well, you know. I do love the original. They're my favoriteest. So publishing. I was going to bring up. So this year, of things that were listed, things that I've read or been introduced to, the High Republic Phase 2 started, which the first book of that I think was better than the first book of Phase 1, that when people were reading the introduction to the High Republic. And one of my complaints is, why did they release it in middle, beginning, and end order? They should have just done it straight up with the beginning. This phase 2 is the beginning of the era, and for whatever reason they did it with the middle part first. Phase 1, phase 2, the beginning part, and then phase 3 is supposed to be the last part. So it's a little annoying from my perspective, but I will say out of the gate, the High Republic phase 2 has started off really strong. The Princess and the Scoundrel, terrible. I did not like that at all. Have any of you read The Princess and the Scoundrel?
No.
Yeah. No, not on your list. Brotherhood. What about Brotherhood? There you get the Qui-Gon. And,
I enjoyed that one.
I liked it as well. Queen's Hope, the last of the Queen's series trilogy. Strong. I thought it fits within that trilogy really well, finishes that story really well. Have any of you caught that?
No.
Sorry.
I do recommend the Queen's trilogy. Queen's Gambit, Queen's Hope, and Queen's... what's the other one? It's not on my head right now.
Queen's Period.
Peril. Those are really good. And then Shadow of the Sith. Shadow of the Sith, I quite enjoyed. I thought it was really well done. There was some controversy around it. People were grousing about, but overall, the book was highly enjoyable. It does tie in with the sequel trilogy, but to me, fantastic book. Luke Skywalker and Lando Calrissian following the Return of the Jedi. Wonderful book.
Yeah.
Wonderful book.
I that's one I have read, and I was fortunate to pick up a copy from Adam Christopher directly back in the summer. And then I didn't read it until about a month ago or so. So I missed out on any of the sort of pre-hype. We say there's some controversy. Is that because of where it was set, or the story itself, or?
There's a part of the story that some people were saying made Luke to be bisexual or homosexual.
I completely missed that. I didn't pick up on that at all. I mean, what stuck out for me was being a big With Nail and I fan, that you had General Pride, and General Pride was like, and I did ask Adam Christopher directly, like, were you channeling With Nail when you wrote those bits for General Pride? And he said, yeah, it is kind of like my fan fiction love letter to With Nail and I, because he's talking about embrocation, which, if you're familiar with the film, if you don't know what I'm talking about, this makes no sense, but they're out of work actors in the late 60s, and he covers himself in deep heat at one point to stay warm, but then he's like, excessively drinking as well, but I didn't pick up anything else.
No, it was K corrected me. It was Obi-Wan in the Brotherhood book. That's the one. And again, I thought that was overblown, because when you actually read it through, it's a tiny little blip in there, and it's nothing that's acted upon. It's nothing that's ever explored. It just kind of, there's a moment that passes.
We're not as consumed by politics and making everything political, so I really didn't care either way.
Yeah, it didn't bother me at all. And then Shadow of the Sith is mainly just because it leads into the sequels. It's the Ochi Bastoon and that whole story that was in Rise of Skywalker. It's the prelude to Rise of Skywalker, and so if Shadow of the Sith happens, it supports that Rise of Skywalker is going to happen. They're not going to retcon the sequels out of existence and erase them from history. Yeah, that was it. That was it with Shadow of the Sith.
It's the only Star Wars novel I've read this year, and I did enjoy it.
I did too. I thought it was really good. The action in it, it's paced really well. it's a great story. It really is. And then there's the comics. I haven't kept up with the comics at all. Meg, are you keeping up with any of the comics?
I am. The Hidden Empire, which is the sequel to War of the Bounty Hunters and Crimson Reign, which is a
what's your
great
take?
series.
There you go. So I think from a publishing side, Lucasfilm's doing a great job. There's lots in there for everyone. For 2022, I would say that's a highlight of the year. Now we can get into the Disney Plus stuff.
Well, I got 2 books before you go into that. It just shows how up to date I am. I'm terrible with the Star Wars reading. I got for Christmas Star Wars Propaganda: A History of Persuasive Art in the Galaxy, which came out in 2016. But I'm glad I got that. And then my most read book is the unofficial Disney Parks drink recipe book, which has all the recipe for Ogre's Cantina and basically all of the cocktails you can get.
Great.
Most used book, that one.
That's great.
Glad I could help everyone with the reading section.
I have fallen a little bit behind on the High Republic book. The last one that came out, I just got started and I haven't gotten through it yet. There's been time. I just been busy with the Santa season and that winding down, and then this weekend I hope to really get through that. Disney Plus. Plus, there was a lot of content. Now, of course, everybody thinks about the big 3, right? Everybody thinks about Book of Boba Fett, Kenobi, and Andor, right? But there was a lot more. Tales of the Jedi, Light and Magic, the documentary was on there. Gallery, we had the Book of Boba Fett, right? And Kenobi. And then the Lego Summer Vacation. So of those, I would say the Lego Summer Vacation to me was maybe my least favorite of the holiday specials we've gotten. Star Wars holiday specials. We had Christmas, and we've had like Halloween, and then this summer one was kind of weird to me. It was just okay, but of the Disney Plus series, Disney Plus content, highs and lows, best of, worst of. Meg, you want to kick it off?
So I just want to say, if you're someone who didn't like The Last Jedi, you have absolutely no right to shit on that film anymore after Kenobi and Book of Boba came out. Like, in fact, I believe in the conspiracy that those films came out just to make the sequels look better. Because if you go back and rewatch the sequels now, they're amazing. Some of the best films that have come out of this franchise. But I would say Andor was amazing. Kenobi had one good episode at the end, and Book of Boba episode 6 was good. The rest is very forgettable.
There you go. Dave, you want to take it from there?
I couldn't agree more. Like the Book of Boba Fett was just jarring, and every episode was like, I mean, it's not for me, and that's how I can sum it up. And talking with like yourselves and my other friends, oh well, but we got Book of Boba Fett and then when you get to Book of Boba, it's like, but we got Obi-Wan to look forward to, and like that was just vanilla for me. And again, I can tell myself it's not really for me. And I then, after Obi-Wan, I rewatched The Bad Batch because I felt that was the last time I'd had anything that was really good. And rewatching The Bad Batch again, you then realize how amazing that was in terms of the writing and the thinking behind it. That it was like, it absolutely just blew Book of Boba Fett and Obi-Wan out of the water in terms of the story and having meaning and feeling. And so when it got to Andor, I was a little bit kind of like, not necessarily washed out, but I watched Bad Batch, which is arguably sort of in the same sort of in between prequels and original trilogy, and I absolutely fell in love with Andor. I couldn't have asked for anything better, really. And I know I totally get it's not for everyone, but the way I look at it is that the Book of Boba Fett wasn't really for me, or Obi-Wan was, but Andor was, right on the money. I totally get why they did 3 episodes from the get-go, because if it hadn't done that, if it was weekly, it would have been savaged, I feel. But like, every character had their CV moment, each one got a monologue that they could all be proud of, and that's what goes on their awards reel and stuff like that. He was absolutely fantastic, and I'm literally can't give it high enough praise. Tales of the Jedi, for me, was a bit sort of like going into the fan service realms again of like, oh well, isn't it's another kind of Filoni thing and stuff like that, which again, there's nothing wrong with that before everybody like gets an uproar, but it's kind of a little bit overplayed now for my liking, and that's why Andor was like genuinely so refreshing in that aspect, but that's not to say it wasn't terrible. I enjoyed that more than Book of Boba Fett and Obi-Wan, and going forward into this year, I've got a really horrible sinking feeling that that the Mandalorian will not meet the same expectations as the previous seasons, because it's coming off the back of something, and you almost, if you think of like Star Wars original trilogy was amazing to those people that are there. The prequel trilogy wasn't terrible, but suffered from being surrounded by yes men too much, rather than people like questioning and saying, is that the right sort of thing? I can see this going the same way, that you almost become bloated with hubris, and it becomes that, so up to this point we're revering it, and the expectation is too high, and what's delivered is completely different, or doesn't meet that expectation. But the Bad Batch, because of the way that it's constructed, in the sense of that the animation takes so long that you're having to think about these things, and the writing and everything is costed, because you got to make the animation for it. You don't like leave anything on the editing for. I expect the Bad Batch to continue its pace and be the real saving grace of like the first half of this year. Ahsoka, I feel, may go into the realms of the Filoni, Favreau, over areas.
Oh my God, Dave!
Yeah, exactly. And sorry, Meg, is Skeleton Crew just due this year?
It's due, but
we don't
it's
really
very,
know, but it might be like Book of Boba, where it's like the last few days of 2023.
Oh, okay.
Going into the new year.
I'm hopeful that, again, if it's completely separate to things, then it's really good. But I just got this horrible feeling all the time, that everything is kind of, the expectations are always too high, and that's my big worry for Mandalorian. Is I'm sure it'll go like gangbusters and it will perform, but like in terms of its magic. And truthfully, that's what it's been able to do up to this point, is create magic. I just worry that it's just not going to be able to like maintain itself, because of everybody is just too afraid to kind of question creative choices and directors and things like that, potentially.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to be more wrong than me, and I truly hope I am wrong. But
I think your concerns are absolutely valid for Ahsoka. They're kind of very similar to how I'm feeling about it.
yeah,
But I would add that they're trying to do a lot with the volume, where in theory it sounds good. If it was another season of Star Wars Rebels, it would be good. But are they going to pull it off in live action without it looking like a fan film? That's my worry.
Yeah. Martin, how about you? Disney Plus.
It's all right.
Yeah.
It's all right, isn't it? So I fall into the camp of what a time to be alive, that every time I turn the telly on, there's new new Star Wars stuff. So I kind of find it hard to get cross about anything. But been a bit of a roller coaster ride for me. I didn't enjoy the Book of Boba Fett that much. I kind of quite liked Kenobi in a kind of, it just sort of went through and I could watch it each week and it was pleasant and a bit more Star Wars. That's all good. And then Andor happened, and I hated the first 3 episodes more than I've ever hated anything to do with Star Wars before. It completely took me by surprise, but I'm glad I caveated when I was ranting to my friends by saying, by the end of the series, this could be the best thing I've ever seen. But at the moment, I absolutely hate it. And I'm pleased to say at the end of the series, it is one of the best things I've ever seen. So I completely 180'd on my initial first thoughts. But it took a lot of getting used to with swearing and stuff in Star Wars. Because to me, my defense has always been their kids' films. But
Bricks and Screws really threw you off.
I don't mind about Bricks and Screws. Who cares about that?
It's a joke, you know.
Yeah, I know. I saw it again as we spoke before. It's funny what people.
No, we need to have Martin on every single week because he is literally the voice of the fandom outside of the internet. Because we're all encased in these internet discussions about these shows, and most people are just trying to live their life and enjoy Star Wars for what it is.
Yeah, it's like Kenobi. I think Kenobi is probably the best example of where I set expectations to people who aren't big Star Wars fans. I was like, Kenobi's quite good if you just watch it for what it is. Yeah. Nothing particularly deep happens in it. It's kind of not really necessary, but it's nice to see Ewan being Kenobi again, and it's good to fill in a few gaps, and there's a few moments in there make you go, oh, that's quite good. And then you move on.
As you're talking about that, and I've been using this term that I stole from Ryan Johnson, right? There's a bit of a smorgasbord now, right? Star Wars smorgasbord that we have in front of us. And when you go into the smorgasbord and you go and you pick up a piece of steak there, do you expect it to be steakhouse quality steak that you get from the smorgasbord? And you go up and say, oh, I'd like a filet, please. Do you think? Yeah, no, but it's still a steak. I mean, it may not be to the quality of a steakhouse, but you're still going to get steak. And for me, I don't get upset when I go to the smorgasbord and it's not seafood night, right? I like all of the stuff, and so I can sample from here and there and the other. And so when I look at the list. Book of Boba Fett, Kenobi, Andor, Tales of the Jedi, Industrial Light and Magic. That was great. I thoroughly enjoyed that documentary.
I loved that. I loved that so much.
It was great. And the gallery, the Lego Summer. To me, all of it was good. I liked all of it. Some of it I like better than other, but I take it for what it is. And there were episodes. So if I go into, say, the Book of Boba Fett, there are episodes that aren't my favorite. The same for Kenobi. There are episodes I'm like, yikes, that wasn't great. But as a whole, very enjoyable. Very enjoyable. I liked it.
Can we address something I've seen in the comments? People talking about Rian Johnson. I saw Glass Onion, and I can safely say I've not seen a single Rian Johnson movie that isn't brilliant.
Yeah.
That's a good statement. I like both of the Knives Out movies, and I know he doesn't like Glass Onion to be called a Knives Out movie. Whatever, I don't care. I like both of them. Yeah.
So Meg, have you heard? So I don't know if we've ever talked about Last Jedi, which it's amazing, isn't it? After all this time, people are still divided on The Last Jedi. I've always maintained The Last Jedi is a brilliant film. To me, it's just not a brilliant Star Wars film.
I can agree with that. I think that's a very good perspective because all the themes are there.
Yeah.
Cinematically, it's brilliant. It's decently directed, I would say. There are some gripes I have with being zoomed in on everyone's face every 2 seconds.
Yeah.
But I would say it's a cool what if movie. I think it's a cool standalone Star Wars movie where we live in this galaxy where Luke went off to become a recluse.
Yeah, which is a Ryan thing, isn't it? He tries to do what people muse over and don't even think about. I genuinely am one of the people who would like to see him do a standalone thing that's just his.
Well, I've said this over and over that the Knives Out movies kind of got me to thinking about the mystery side of things. and to have him do a mystery, a treatment of some Star Wars content would be great.
Well, Glass Onion got me thinking about swimwear.
Of course.
This is the most incredible swimwear.
Look, I think about him handling Thrawn, for example, in just space, where there's some incident going on.
I'm quite passionate. I think it should be Rian Johnson just doing something that's in the Star Wars universe, and it has no links to anything. Maybe that's the sort of sting at the end, that it turns out it influences something.
I'll tell you what I think he'd be really good at, but I don't see it ever happening. But taking Donald Glover and then having do like a Lando series or something like that. So because the style and the sense of humor would sort of fit the young Lando, where it's like a conning or a heist or a big score kind of thing. And if you look at like that, and then make that your sort of focal point, I think that would work really quite nicely with that stuff, because you're expecting it to be a little bit quirky and things like that. But what the hell do I know? So it doesn't really matter.
I've got a different perspective on what Rian Johnson could do in Star Wars. He should do the Shmi Skywalker backstory.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Lying. She was lying.
Look, I think it ties into the Chiss, so I'm all for that. Right?
Exactly.
So, because the Chiss Skywalkers and Shmi Skywalker, I think it ties into that. But that's my own headcanon. I don't have anything on that, but it seems to me like it's perfectly set up for it. Just to kind of...
So could it be like Daniel Craig's Benoit trying to work out how she got pregnant?
Yes.
That's one angle.
Zuveum.
You're killing me.
And you'll hear him speaking. He's like, "Well, howdy."
Oh my goodness!
You see, you claim that you weren't in a relationship.
Just one more question, Mrs. Kowalski.
Just try to keep you two under control.
No,
so,
I've been pretty well behaved so far, relatively speaking.
You have been. It's been quite good. It's been quite good. We have just to kind of wrap up the 2022 discussion. Best of, worst of. How do you feel overall Star Wars, the state of Star Wars, say, in 2022 as a whole, across the whole spectrum?
I would say I'm just happy 2023 is coming, because there are a lot of shows that were pushed from 2022 to 2023. Because originally we thought Mando 3 and Bad Batch 2 were coming in 2022. So we're finally going to get those. And as David said, like, the Bad Batch starting the year is going to be, I think, the best way to kick off. So I'm happy with Star Wars. I think it'll be fine. It just needs to find its rhythm now that Andor was such a great success. I think they need to be more like in tune with what the fans think.
Excellent. David, 2022 as a whole.
2022 has had, when you really break it down, has had an absolute bonkers amount of stuff created for it. And it's the first time really in a non-movie year. We still don't know what's going on with movies, but we've had all like this stuff that is it exceeds a movie, but like just so much physical content. When you really kind of like lay it all out, it's actually quite crazy. I think it has its highs and lows, and you gotta take the rough with the smooth. But I think a huge thing that we've not really talked about so far is, because we've only really been genuinely addressing the official stuff, and we haven't actually mentioned, respectively, either yourself or Meg, the amount of stuff that you guys have actually been doing, which has actually just been like absolutely staggering to be able to like keep it up. And that's why I laughed when you said about, Star Wars and family, like earlier, because I'm thinking, well, that's rich coming from you, because you're like literally like doing this like several times a week and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And Meg is like pumping out video after video after video. It comes up on the feed. I don't think people really ever really fully can get their head around just how much time, effort, and energy goes into those things until you actually do it yourself. And so truthfully, I'm very grateful in the sense of what you guys have been doing to like keep up with that, let alone anything else that's on the Disney side, because those guys get millions and a huge amount of resource to be able to do that. The stuff that you guys do is just literally off your own passion, and that can never really be recognized enough. So from that perspective, the fact that you're still doing it and you want to do it, and silly Santa for like asking Martin and myself to come back to do the year in review, you should know better than that.
I should. Thank you, David. That's great. I really appreciate it.
I think we're, it's really in a good place, and the fact that we're able to have those discussions, and if Andor hadn't come along, my God, would I have been sour about this year. But Andor's made up for all the things that and I can come to terms with the other bits. So yeah, it's like fantastic, and Bad Batch is on the way, and Bad Batch, if anybody hasn't seen that yet, it's literally so well done. And covers aspects, superficially, it's the A-Team in space.
Yeah.
But like, under those layers, it's like, what do fish out of water do once they don't have a purpose anymore? Where do they fit into these things? And everything that they understood is not like so much a lie, but like those morals don't stand anymore. And then there's the changing of the politics and stuff like that. It's incredible. So I'm so pumped for that. So it's good. And then of course, the Star Wars spins with Martin.
Of course. But yeah, Martin.
Yeah. Apart from Star Wars spins. So I'm going to say, for those of us who are old enough, cast your mind back to 2009 when it's all gone a bit weird after the prequels. It's all gone a bit quiet. And the ghost of future comes to you and says, 2022, you're going to have 2 Star Wars theme parks. You're going to have a hotel you can stay in. It's a 2-night immersive adventure. You're going to have 3 10, 12-part Disney Plus episodes. You're going to have more merchandise thrust at you that you can handle. And all the other, like you say, all this fan stuff that goes on. Celebration is going to be the biggest one ever type thing, in LA. It's going to go strong, and you're going to have John Williams performing on stage. You're going to have you in there. You're going to have all the stars. How can it be a bad year?
Right. That's a good point.
How can you turn around and say Star Wars is having a really rough time at the moment?
I feel everything you just said. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I can cast my mind back to that time, and I didn't come out of the prequels on a high with Star Wars, and I felt that lull in between. And these last couple of years have just been tremendous for me. And David, I appreciate your words. Like this YouTube channel has connected me to folks in a different way than I ever could have imagined, and to be able to chat about Star Wars on a regular basis like this, I could not have ever thought it possible, and have such great friends, and be the lone guy out with all these Brits hanging out with this nerd from Ohio. It's amazing. It's amazing. So look, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me today. It's been wonderful, and like Meg said, 2023 has me excited. I'm really looking forward to that. It's going to be great. I'm confident.
Nothing makes us happy, and I think I'm speaking on behalf of Meg here, which I don't like to do. And nothing makes us happier than seeing you excited, Santa.
Exactly. If Sandra's red,
which is why you're going to get the trombone out now.
Yeah.
Yes, Sandra, give us a blow.
Yeah.
No, it's not happening. Not
A quick
happening.
blow doesn't hurt, surely.
Just a quick blow.
Yeah.
No.
Blast out that D.
Flash it off.
Yeah.
Here, I'll do you guys. I'll do you a favor. Hold on one
Oh
second.
yeah.
I got. So I did a trombone piece for you guys because you wouldn't leave me alone about it.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, fine. I'll record something. So let me see if I can find it. I do have.
Daniel's made a good point. Have you played for a while, or is it a rusty trombone?
No, it's rusty. Yeah.
Oh.
It's been a while since he's wrapped his lips around it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like riding a bike, isn't it, Santa? You never really forget, do you?
Oh, you're terrible. You guys are terrible. Right after talking about how nice it is to hang out with you guys.
That's the big finish.
I can't find it.
Come on, Santa, blow out that big D.
Yeah.
I've got the trombone solo on here somewhere. I just don't know where it is, and I'm having trouble finding it. So
do you know where your actual trombone is, Santa?
I do know where it is.
Well, there you go. Then there's the easy answer, isn't it? You do know where that is.
It is literally it's in that room. I can tell it's in that room.
I'm not doing it.
Oh, God, Santa.
It's in
Oh
that
my
room.
goodness.
Looking at it now.
I have a Mike Porter dad joke. Mike Porter dad joke.
No,
That's,
no, you can't. Look,
Mike Porter can wait. You know, because he.
No, I can't.
rather
Look, I
see-
couldn't. I looked for it. I couldn't find it.
no, but you know where your actual trombone is.
No,
at
I'm
it.
not going to go get it. It's not happening.
It's literally.
It's not. It's
When
totally
you
not
reached out and
happening.
said, "Would you be kind enough to come on
how
the
can
show?"
you
after
say that we're going into 2023 and
Yeah.
it's going to be good if you're not doing this? Like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh!
Oh, I
Especially
found it.
play the
I found it.
You
Mandalorian.
found it.
Here we go. I'm going to upload. I'm going to upload here. I'll go to back to here. Down here. Here we go. Since you guys won't leave it. Here we go.
Oh,
I'll play the trombone. Here we go. There you go. Trombone solo.
Pre-recorded is nothing like getting blown by you in real life, Santa.
No. Just-
That's all you get. That's it. That's it.
treat mean Keaton Keen, hey Santa? Is that your motto?
Oh my goodness. Mike Porter dad joke. Mike Porter dad joke. Here it goes. What did the builders say to the family when they built an addition in the back of their house? Now, this one I really hesitated sharing with the three of you because of the answer.
An addition in the back of the house.
Happy New Year.
Hey!
Nice.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know. This could go a wrong direction on me really fast.
That's it, yeah. Oh look, Darth Cheeks has joined us.
No,
There he is.
David.
Hey,
David.
Greg. Oh, Greg was there a second
Was an
ago.
elbow. Was an elbow. Quite relieved.
Nope. whatever floats your boat, Santa.
Hey, I hope you all have a wonderful new year. And thanks for hanging out. This last year, 2023 is coming on. Look, there you go. See, I knew this was coming. I
There
knew.
you go.
Hey.
Right at the tail end of the
Santa,
stream.
don't be a brass hole.
I love you guys so much. I wish that I could come to London for celebration and get to see you in person
Oh,
and
you
throw a
can
shoe at
get
David.
another family, Santa. Come on.
But it'll happen. It'll happen sooner or later. We'll get over there. I'm gonna bring my wife with me. We'll get Kathy, and we'll get a hang out with you guys someday. It will happen. So, thank you once again. You guys have a very happy New Year. 2023. I'm looking to spending time with all of you and getting to talk about Star Wars for another year. And we do have another real big giveaway.
Trombone.
And we talk about collectibles. We do have Boba Fett on the throne, the hot toy collectible, right? So we've got this, and we're going to add Fennec Shan to it. We get the throne, Boba and Finnick as a giveaway there 2023. So there you go. Anything else? You guys behave yourselves.
Does that have any special features, that bobber on the throne?
Does that have
Yeah,
a
it
flag?
gives him a chance job.
Yeah.
No, she hasn't come yet.
What? I'm sorry?
Don't just stop. Right? Clip it. There you go. You're welcome. You're welcome. I know.
He's
there are
outrageous,
times.
isn't he, Matt? He's filthy. Absolutely filthy. I'm sometimes embarrassed.
Won't someone think of the children?
Someone's giving you $2 for saying that.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Star Wars Dog. Hey, Ohio State plays Georgia tomorrow night. College football here in the States. I've got my Ohio State merch on right now. We'll be pulling for our Buckeyes to win and rooting for somebody other than Michigan to go to the finals.
Dave's stripping off there.
Oh, look there. Excellent job. All right, you guys take care. And we'll talk to you again soon. Until next time, my friends.
Thank you, guys.
Merry Christmas and happy. Today again is what is it? It's geese a laying. Happy geese a laying day, right? That's today, and the days of Christmas.
Sorry, who's laying?
Geese.
Yeah, who got laid?
The geese. The geese are laying. Yeah. All right. Bye bye, everybody.